This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Canada Reads American Style. I'm Tara and I'm here with Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Well, we are here for one of our monthly book chats, but before we start that, anything interesting? You have any interesting news for us?
Oh my gosh, I have to share this because I had a friend visiting from California this
Yep.
past week, and I went to the Henry Ford Museum, and it says something like about American innovation or something like that. But I just wanted to say three things that I saw which blew my mind. It's in Dearborn, Michigan, which is like west of Detroit. But I saw the Rosa Parks bus. They literally outbid the Smithsonian Institute to get it, and they restored it, and I literally sat in the same spot as Rosa Parks. Like it was
So
amazing.
flipping cool.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then also in the museum, besides the fact that they have full airplanes, it's huge. It covers like 9 acres, this museum, and they have trains, like huge, like massive, the big Allegheny trains. They had airplanes hanging from the ceiling. I'm not kidding you. I don't even know how they do it. But the other two things I saw that I just wanted to mention, they had the JFK car that he was shot in, and it said that car was in service until like the early 70s or something. And I'm thinking,
really?
They kept using that car after he was shot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yikes. Anyway. And then the other one was, this one really shocked me. They have the chair Abraham Lincoln was sitting in when he was shot. Yeah. Yeah. And it looks like it's blood on it. I mean, I don't know how it's not blood, but it's like you're looking at it and it's, yeah. Anyway, I highly recommend, if you're in the Michigan area, if you're in a surrounding state or province, highly recommend that museum. It is phenomenal. And it has right next to it Greenfield Village, which is, I still am not 100% sure, but it looks like it's reproductions of houses of famous people like Thomas Edison and famous people in history. And they say basically this area, the museum and Greenfield Village, and then they have like a tour you can do of a factory in Detroit, and they take you there and show you stuff. But anyway, it's like a 2 to 3 day event.
Cool.
I mean, like a place you can go. So highly recommended if you've never been, whether you're a history buff or you have kids that are interested in all kinds of history. It was amazing.
Maybe I'm reading too many ghost stories, and I think I am. But that place is flipping haunted. That place
It has to be, don't you
has to be
think?
haunted.
100%
Yeah.
agree. That's so funny you say that, because that is what I thought. I thought you can't have this kind of history with these items.
There's stuff attached to those items.
I agree.
Yeah.
How about you? Anyway, what have you been up to?
Oh my God. I had like an epic road trip in Newfoundland. I flew into Newfoundland with my mom and my aunt. We picked up my cousin, we flew into St. John's, and then we did like the most epic road trip across the province. So east to west, a couple of days west, then up north to St. Anthony, which is at the very tip of Newfoundland. Flipping amazing. I cannot recommend. I'm from the most beautiful province. I know all of Canada is beautiful. Oh my God, my province is so beautiful. Anyways, and then we drove back down to the West Coast, a couple more days there, or maybe one day, and then back across the middle of the province to the East Coast. We made a little stop overnight to see some puffins. We saw icebergs when we went north to St. Anthony. Amazing hiking. It was just the best trip. We had the best trip.
Your pictures of the puffins and that one photo you shared on your Instagram of the icebergs, that needs to hang on a wall. It is so stunning, that one picture. Oh my gosh.
It's impossible to not take a good picture of an iceberg. Actually, I take that back. My mom, who is notorious, hi mom, is notorious for cutting heads off of photos. I actually managed to take it. We were looking through the pictures later, and we'd all been taking pictures of the icebergs because we took a boat trip that brought us around to see some. And she had
Wow.
literally cut the head off of an iceberg. I could not stop laughing.
That's brilliant.
Oh, so anyways, we had a great trip. I will also say, aside from the nature, on our last day, full day there, we drove back to St. John's because we flew home from there, and we visited the Rooms, which is the name of the museum in St. John's. Phenomenal, stunning museum, and highly recommend if you have a chance to go. It's amazing. It's each floor. I think there were 3 floors, if I remember correctly. Each floor on one side has an art gallery, and on the
Ooh.
other side of the floor, like across the floor, was a museum. And the two were kind of linked in terms of themes on each floor. It was linked in
Ooh.
terms of themes of what was in the gallery versus what was in the museum.
Yeah.
Like the museum on one floor was the natural life in Newfoundland, natural history, indigenous history in Newfoundland, and then there was a whole section of the museum that was the World War One, Newfoundlanders in World War One, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, I'll be honest, I thought was going to be boring, and it was. It was not boring. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
that was,
I wanna go there so bad
oh
one day. So after I saw your pictures, I thought I've got to push that high up on my list.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It was amazing. If anyone
Yeah.
needs to, if you want to go and you need like just little highlights, because then there's so many other places we didn't go that we're going to return. I've got to return and see, but just send me a message. I'll tell you where we went.
I love it. I love it. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay. Should we get into to our books?
Yes.
Yeah. What are you currently reading?
So I'm currently reading a book that I had gotten from Hare from River Street Right, and it's called A Song for
Oh,
Wildcats.
yes.
According to the back, it says it's 5 long form stories.
Okay.
So that's interesting because
Yeah.
they're not even calling them short stories, but it's saying long form stories. And so the first story is 42 pages. So I don't know. I mean, are short stories sometimes aren't they sometimes that long? I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, yeah, they can be.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's long for a short story, but
Yeah.
like Alice Munro had some pretty long short stories.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a song for Wildcats I should have mentioned by Caitlin Galway, and I have only so far finished the first one. I enjoyed it, and looking forward to finishing this collection. So
Nice.
that is what I'm currently reading. How about
Okay.
you?
I am currently reading, so I hinted at it that I was reading a lot of horror, and I am reading a lot of horror lately.
Yeah.
But I received an arc of this book from NetGalley, and it is The Hunger We Pass Down by Jen Sookfonglee. So it comes out at the end of September. This book, so I had seen she on her Instagram had posted about it about a month ago, and I instantly went to NetGalley and I was able to get a copy. And it is an intergenerational saga with elements of horror, but it's not super scary, although it can be. There are a couple times I've been like, oh, if I was reading this super late at night, I would not want to read this part. But
Hmm.
what I'm finding fascinating is that I think exploring intergenerational trauma through horror is a perfect genre for it.
Hmm.
So the whole gist of the story, it takes place 2 timelines. So present day Vancouver versus Hong Kong during World War II. So in the present day in Vancouver, we have Alice, who is a divorced mother living in her childhood home. So I think her grandparents lived there. Her mother was raised there. She was raised there, and she is now raising her 2 children in this home. She is overwhelmed by her business, her home, and her children, and is unsure what she wants from her personal life in terms of romance because obviously her husband is out of the picture except for being the father of her children. Then in the past, in Hong Kong, we meet Gigi, who is Alice's great grandmother, who has been forced to work as a comfort woman for Japanese soldiers during World War II. I did not know this aspect of history.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, eventually, I don't want to get into her story because that's her, I want you to read this book because it is so good. Eventually, Alice's mother in the present day starts to share their haunted family history and tracing intergenerational trauma as it moves from mother to daughter. And even we can see in Alice, her daughter Luna is a teenager, I think around 15 years old. And the trauma is coming out even in Luna at 15 years old, and how these two women, mother and daughter at this point, have no idea what is going on, but it's
Mm.
all just a trickle down effect of what happened to Gigi in World War II.
Wow.
It's so good. So good.
And when does it come out? Because you said it was a NetGalley book.
September 30th, 2025. So what's that? 2 more months? July, August, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll remind us all when it comes out, because
Yeah.
I think people are going to want to pick up this book.
You usually have a couple going at the same time?
I know. No, I have my nonfiction I finished yesterday, and I haven't picked up a new one yet. I do have a collection of short stories going, but I didn't bring it. It's an oldie. Actually, yeah. You know what? I will bring it because it is really good. I think you're going to want to read it if you
Okay.
haven't yet already. And it is The Yellow Wallpaper and Other Stories by Charlotte Perkins Gilman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, she is like a fierce feminist. And this book, first published in 1892, you could swear she could have written this right now,
Mm-hmm.
with stuff that she is saying, which shows how little we've actually come in terms of equality in gender expectations, and gender roles. It's really frustrating, actually. Yeah. However, I did read the short story I read this morning was called, took a note, sorry, I will do this super quick. It was called When I Was a Witch, which I love the title. And I'm going to just read this quote from it. There was such a change in all kinds of business following the mere printing of truth in the newspapers. It began to appear as if we had lived in a sort of delirium, not really knowing the facts about anything. As soon as we really knew the facts, we began to behave very differently, of course, because the narrator realizes she has witchy powers, and when things piss her off, she has the ability to change them. And one of the things she changed was that people could only write the truth in newspapers, or that's essentially what it was.
Ooh, I love that concept.
Yeah. There's other things too. It was it started when she saw horses being mistreated. So she was like, anyone who mistreats a horse, that horse doesn't feel the pain, but they feel the pain. And she watched men go and hit a horse and all of a sudden grab their head because they
Yeah.
So it started with like mistreatment of animals, and then trickled down to newspapers and everything.
I love
It's
it.
pretty awesome.
I love it.
So that's my current short story read.
Excellent. Those are that's great. So cool.
Yeah. A lot of feminist rage. Going on in my reading at the moment.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Okay. Moving on. What are some of your notable books from the past month or so?
Yeah, the one I just want to quickly mention, because you and I did now I can't remember, was it a podcast or was it it was a podcast about where we picked a book for each of us to read from our shelf. Yeah. So I just want to throw this out and just say Stella's Carpet. I read it. I really loved it. If you want to know more details about it, check out that previous podcast. And it was by Lucy E. M. Black. I just want to bring it again because it was really an amazing story, family, history. And the key thing of it that I loved was how much some people in the family knew some parts of somebody else's life, or they knew their own, but then somebody else didn't really know it. And yet people they move on and live their lives, not always knowing the full story of anyone's life but their own. And I just thought how Lucy created that story just made it a very compelling read. So I just want to throw that out there one more time, even though we talked about it in great detail I did on the last podcast. Yeah.
No, it deserves it. Throw it out there. That's awesome. Yep. My first one is nonfiction, is A River Alive by Robert Macfarlane. This is a Rebecca book. Rebecca
Mhm.
must read this book.
Yep.
So basically, Macfarlane visited in his search to answer the question, is a river alive? He visited 3 rivers. I believe the one was in the cloud forests of Ecuador, another was in India. I can't remember geographically exactly where. And the third was in Quebec, Canada. And each very different, each a very different river. And his writing totally plunges you into that geography. Like you are
Mhm.
there in the cloud forest with him. You are there being bitten by the black flies in Quebec. It's fantastic. In addition to the geography, he has friends and colleagues, acquaintances that join him on these journeys, explorations, and their stories are as well embedded in the story of the river
Ooh.
as yeah. So when you get really, it's my favorite when you get memoir and nature writing together, by
Mhm.
far my favorite nonfiction. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful book. Highly recommend it. And I was lucky enough to get to see him speak a few weeks ago here in Burlington. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. My next book. Oh, this one I don't have a physical copy. It was on my e-reader, but again, it was I believe the publisher reached out to us and I it doesn't publish I think until September of this year. I think that's when it is. It is the Oxford Soju Club
Mm.
by Jinwoo Park and I really enjoyed this book. I will say I always kind of do this little thing where because others said it as well, because I thought it might just be me because I'm not really somebody who reads sort of like spy novels
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. But others kind of said the same thing. It's a little bit confusing sometimes with because the characters might have a different name because there's a spy, but then there's their spy name and then there's their quote real name. And so sometimes it's a little bit confusing kind of what's going on, but stay with it because I think it's a really wonderful story. And it's really the author doesn't consider it a spy novel. He uses the vehicle of a spy novel to really tell the story of immigration, how immigrants have to play different roles depending on where they live and with whom they interact and everything. And it's a really compelling story. It's somebody a spy, a North Korean spy is killed at the beginning and there's one of his mentees or whatever he now is given a clue that he's supposed to meet up with someone else. And so he's trying to meet up with this person and all these other characters kind of come into it. And there's sort of like 3 central characters and their lives will converge at the Soju Club, the
Oh,
Oxford Soju Club. So I really enjoyed it. Again, comes out in September and we are hoping to speak with the author as well. We're hoping to get that
mhm.
arranged, and I'm looking forward to it. I really can't wait to hear more about him because he is Korean Canadian. I'm not sure exactly where he grew up or anything like that, but I think it's fascinating that this was his story because he tells you at the very beginning of the book, this is what this book is about. Like he
Mm,
lays it all out there and talks about it's about immigration and identity, and I just want to tap more into that and ask him some of those questions beyond the book. So yeah.
nice. I'm looking forward to reading that one too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, my next book is a book in translation. So it is Pale Shadows by Dominique Fortier, translated by Rhonda Mullins. Again, I think this is another book that you would enjoy too, Rebecca. It's a short little book,
Hmm.
and it is about Emily Dickinson, kind of. It's more about how Emily Dickinson's book of poems was first published because when she died, she left behind hundreds of poems just scribbled on scraps of paper. And this is
Hmm.
the story of how those poems went from scraps of paper to a published book
Ooh.
through the work of 3 women. And those 3 women are Lavinia, her sister, Susan Gilbert Dickinson, who I think was one of her best friends and also happened to be her sister in law, and Mabel Loomis Todd, who was her brother's mistress, her brother who was married to Susan. So I know that sounds confusing, but it's really how those 3 women wanted the book published for different reasons. While mostly Mabel was very ambitious and wanted the kudos that went along with getting a book published.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful book. It's just very interesting. Fortier's writing is beautiful, but my favorite character, having said those three, they're three great women, but my favorite character was actually Mabel's daughter, Millicent, who found a connection to Emily through the poems that she read. So it's fantastic.
Oh,
Yes, so
yeah.
this is the first book that I've read of Fortier's. It was shortlisted for the Carol Shields Prize, but her
Oh,
previous book, Paper Houses from 2018, is actually a novelized account of Emily Dickinson's life. So that's next on, not next, but it's
right,
on my
right.
TBR to read fairly soon
Yeah. Oh,
because I
nice.
enjoyed this book so much.
Let's see. Next for me, I just want to briefly mention because I feel like I've talked about these books like 1,000 times, but I'm going to bring it up really just briefly. So there were two novellas by, it's a duology, which
Mm,
actually I'm not even sure I've ever used that word before, duology. Like I
yeah,
just don't think I
it's a
ever
good
have.
word.
Yeah, but by Becky Chambers. And the first book in the duology is A Psalm for the Wild Built, which I read, I think, back in December. And it's basically about the robot and the tea monk. They meet up and in a sort of an alternate universe, and they become friends, and it's a really beautiful relationship. And then they go on in the second book, which is the one I want to mention that I just read, A Prayer for the Crown Shy.
Mhm.
And in that one, the idea was that they were going to travel because people in general hadn't seen a robot, because it was years and years before that robots and humans parted ways. And now robot is on the road with the tea monk, and they're going to travel. And I really loved the first book. It was so fantastic, and it just created so many ideas and things that you might want to know. Okay, I got interrupted, everybody, so I've cut that part out, and now I'm starting over. So I'm not sure where I ended off, but I'm going to just say
Just
that
start
in
over. Yeah.
no, I'm including this because what the hell, I don't know, but I will say this. A Song for the Wild Built, it had a lot of philosophy in it. It had just things that really made you think about,
Hmm.
like the future and the past and everything. I loved that book so much. In Crown Shy, I felt like she kind of missed the boat a little bit, and it wasn't quite, I didn't love it as much as I loved the first one, but I did enjoy it
Okay.
because I read it with my sister's boyfriend Stuart, and he and I had a fantastic discussion about the book. So to me, that's a win.
Yeah.
As much as we both didn't like the second book as much, we had such a great conversation related to it. So I would say, if you read both of them, find somebody else who's read them, talk about them, because it's really a fabulous idea. I still think the second book ended like there is going to be a third book, but everything I've read about her, and she's moved on. So I don't know why she would leave us hanging, uh, because there's more, and I won't say what should have happened in the third book, or what should happen, but she missed a thing right there. She needed to wrap that up. But Becky
Hmm.
Chambers, if you're listening, of course she's not, but we need a third book. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also looking forward to reading those two books. I cannot wait to finally pick them up.
Yeah.
Okay, my next book, Sleepers and Ties by Gail Kirkpatrick. This one also came from the way of the beautiful Hare of River Street Writes. It's a little synopsis of Sleepers and Ties. I had two. I was intrigued by the title. This is a train book. There's a lot of, so if you like trains, and my gosh, I'm going to say this again, Rebecca, I really think you would like this book.
I do too.
Yeah, because you like trains, and there is even from the title, that's the Sleepers and Ties.
Yeah.
It's a train thing, people referring to the ties for railway tracks. I'm not going to pretend like I knew that. I had to look it up. But the wonderful thing is that Kirkpatrick puts a glossary in the back. So each
Ooh.
chapter is named after a part of like a train track, a train station, something to do with trains. And then she has the glossary in the back that tells you the what that part is. So which I actually really like that. So there is a
Yeah.
lot of train stuff. If you like trains, I think you're really going to enjoy it just for that part alone.
Hmm.
However, if you're not at all interested in trains, you don't need to be. to still enjoy. You're not going to get bogged down in the details of how a train station works. You're not going to get that. You just get
Mhm.
these little snippets. Why trains? Okay, this is why I'm going to tell you why trains are important to this book. So, Margaret, middle aged, is a museum curator who returns to her hometown in Saskatchewan to attend the final reading of her sister Shirley's will. So, she's brought with her Shirley's ashes. So I think Margaret lives on the West Coast. She returns to Saskatchewan with Shirley's ashes to their hometown because, oh, I could not tell you the legalities of it, but for whatever reason, the will had to be read in her hometown. When she gets there for the will reading, she learns that Shirley has left her two things. One, an unexpectedly large amount of money, like $8 million.
Oh,
That's not a super huge spoiler. And
yeah.
two, a request to re-establish the abandoned railway where her father worked during their childhood. And so now Margaret is forced to, because this is crazy. That's a big ask of a
Yeah.
person. Even if you leave a large sum of money, I don't know if $8 million is enough to reestablish a railway.
Yeah.
So Margaret is now left with a whole bunch of decisions to make, whether she actually follows through on this, and if she does, how she will accomplish it. And those decisions will affect her career and her marriage. And while she's doing this, she's also coming to terms with her past with her sister and what she knew of her relationship with her sister, and also her best friend who is still living in their hometown. And that's all I'm going to
That's
say.
100% a Rebecca book.
It
I
is.
really think so.
And there's
Mhm.
even a love story. Yes, Margaret is married, but there's also a love story that happens at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a, it's not a long book, but it's a dense book. She packs a lot in this. And now, like, it's been about 2 weeks since I've read it, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I That one's definitely going on my list for sure.
yeah,
Yep. That sounds good.
yeah.
All right. I think it's so funny. We're talking so much about books that we've gotten from Hale through River Street Rights and stuff. And so I have to bring this one because I really enjoyed this book. So Drinking the
Oh,
Ocean
yes.
by Saad Omar Khan. And now this was an arc and it comes out in, oh no, I take that back. I was a little late getting to it. So it came out May 6th. So it's already out. And I'll just read you a little bit of the blurb on the back, but it just says the day after his 33rd birthday, Murad spots a familiar face at a crowded intersection in downtown Toronto. Shocked, he stands silently as Sophie, a woman he had fallen in love with almost a decade ago, walks by holding the hand of a small child. Murad turns and descends the subway steps to return home to his wife as the past washes over him and he is taken back to the first time they met. Now, it's broken into 4 sections. The first section is Murad, that's kind of his story. Second one is Sophie, that's her
Oh,
story. The third part of the book is Murad and Sophie. And then the fourth one, I won't tell you what it is.
okay.
You just have to find out. But I cannot tell you how much I love Sophie. I love this character so much. And I will admit that I thought when I started reading it, I didn't know it was going to be broken into 4 parts. And I was thinking, come on, Murad. You fell in love with this woman. It seemed kind of like a shallow thing. Like, why were you, fussing about it for all these years? And, he
Mhm.
kind of irritated me a little bit. And I even thought to myself, I don't know what page number I got. And I thought, am I going to keep reading this book or not? Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I did because I think when you hear Sophie's story and then you put the 2 stories together, I just thought it was beautiful. And I even had marked a bunch of places of things that just stayed with me. Like, the kind of things you write down because the quotes are so
Yep.
incredible. Like they really hit you in the heart and everything. And I just want to say, if anyone is like me, and you start reading it and you're a little annoyed because Murad just seems like, I hate to say it, but like a guy who just the one that got, I'm married, but the one that got away, it's
Mm.
all I care about. No, stick with it. You gotta hear Sophie's story because I love Sophie. She's one of my favorite characters this year that I've read, and I just love her. So I just wanted to say that. Yes. So
That's awesome.
I was happy with it. Very, very.
Awesome.
I'm glad, and that just goes to show. Sometimes when I don't stick with a book, and somebody will say, "Oh, you didn't read it all the way through. You should have read it," and I think, "Nah, I'm good." And then I go, now I look and I go, "Oh, maybe, maybe I'm wrong when I do that when I DNF a book." But I'm glad I stuck with Murad and Sophie.
Well, having said that, though, I think you know when you want to DNF. But there was something in this one, even though you were tempted, there was something in this book that made you keep reading anyways because you didn't DNF. So,
Yeah,
like I think
that's
you
a good
do.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
really good point. You're right because
Yeah.
I kind of just didn't want to give up on Murad, even though he was kind of annoying me. I
Hmm.
kind of didn't want to give up on him. And even then, like I said, I didn't even realize it was going to become like I didn't know there were 4 sections in the book. So yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't want you to stop DNFing and continuing to,
Okay.
and continuing to read books that you're not going to like. Like trust yourself because you didn't DNF it,
You're right.
right?
A hundred
Yeah.
percent agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think we all deserve to be able to DNF a book without regret, you know?
That is very true. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
But thank you because you push this way up on my TBR. I really want to read this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do read it, I want to know what you think of it for
Yeah.
sure. We'll have to talk about it.
Awesome. Okay. My next book I'm very excited for because it's by one of my favorite authors and I love him and everything. So I'm going to gush, but like this man would have to write like a total piece of shit for me not to gush. I sort of use bad words, but I'm like, it would have to be really bad. Anyways, it's the newest book by Guy Gavriel K, and it is called Written on the Dark. It came out on May 27th. Uh, it's fantasy, historical fantasy. So it's fantasy that's set in a historical era so you're already slightly familiar with the world. So, which I really like this because you feel comfortable in the world and then he just kind of throws you off a little bit with different elements kind of things, some supernatural elements or whatever, fantasy elements, right?
Hmm.
So this one itself is inspired by medieval France, and our main character is a poet. He's a tavern poet called Thierry Villard, and he just travels around to all the taverns and reads poetry, and then he gets pulled into, as all of Guy Gabriel K books are, books of court and royalty and politics and religion and who's going to die, who's going to live, who loves us. They're just so good. See, I'm gushing. I can't even give like a proper review of it because I enjoy his stories. I enjoy his writing. Like he just his like there's little sentences. I'm just like, damn it, that's good. And he even at one point towards the end of the book, I know he wrote himself into it as like he broke that fourth wall. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's put himself in there, right? And just for one sentence, I'm like, that's him. I
Oh,
love him
wow.
so
That's
much.
cool.
I think I wrote a much better review on it. Like I'm totally gushing now. My Instagram page, there's a much better review of it there. Um, Even on NetGalley too, I did a much better one. So go there. No, not I didn't get it on NetGalley. Don't listen to me. It'll eventually on my story graph it will be there, but
Yeah.
let me see. I will see if I can pick stuff from my Instagram. Oh, his writing transports me easily to another world, and his characters become embedded in my book heart. Yes, that's totally true because they never leave me. He has books in the past that I've read that I will, every couple months, I think of, there's one book in particular, The Lions of Al-Rassan, which is my favorite. And I think of these three characters and I get a little teary eyed for them yet again. And I love his books. I just
Yeah.
gotta say, if you haven't picked one up, if you're interested in fantasy, just jump in. He's amazing. I'll leave it at that because I'll just
Okay.
keep gushing.
Yeah.
Gushing is enough.
No, I love when you gush, because I think that shows a real passion for an author, a particular book or something,
Mhm.
and maybe because I gush all the time, I think it's a good thing. So
Thank you.
I think it's always good to really just absolutely love what you love. You
Yeah,
know that the world
I
needs
do.
more of
I
that.
I love his books.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm bringing the
Oh,
Sisters Grimm, which is part
nice.
of my goal of reading about strong, whatever, clever, independent girls. And my old boss, when I was a youth librarian back in the day, and I was telling her about my goal because I knew she would have great recommendations for strong girl characters. And so this is a fairly new series. Well, I shouldn't say it fairly new. I think it came out in 2005 or something. Yeah. And it's The Sisters Grimm, The Fairy Tale Detectives is the first in this series. New York Times bestselling series by Michael Buckley. And there are two orphan sisters, Sabrina and Daphne, and they're sent to live with their newly discovered grandmother, Rhonda Grimm, in the strange town of Ferryport Landing. And what's really funny about it is all the characters, the two girls think their parent, well, they, one day their parents just left. They
Mhm.
don't know what happened. And so they were in foster care and they thought they had no family left. And then they find this grandmother, and Sabrina, the older one, she does not believe that's really their grandmother because she said, why would dad say his parents passed away if they didn't? And the great thing about this book, which is hilarious, is that all the characters are fairy tale characters. And so the mayor of Ferryport Landing is Prince Charming, so Mayor Charming, yeah. And there's another character, Puck, from, so they're fairy tales, but they're from all parts of literature.
Yeah.
And Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack is in it, and it's just a wild ride. And oh, there's a magic carpet involved. It was so much fun. So I would say if you just want a really fun read, I read this like in a day, and it's not a
Yeah. No.
slender book by any means, but I read it in a day because I couldn't put it down. It was hilarious. I don't think I would read more of the series necessarily. There is a big, well, I'll just say because probably nobody will pick this book up, but you find out at the end of book one that her parents have been seen. Somebody has seen them. So she knows they know, the girls know they didn't die. So I think there's going to be at some point, they're going to reunite with their parents. And dad never told them that they were related to the Grimm family line, like they were part of the Grimm
Oh,
brothers
yeah.
family line, right? And that they have a unique power over all the other characters in Fairyport Landing. So anyway, it's just a really cute series. I think it would be a great read aloud if you have kids that really love to be read aloud too. I think it'd be a great one. And I'm so glad Terry, shout out to my boss Terry who recommended it because I really did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. And I think especially when if you've read a lot of like heavy stuff and you just want to pick up something that you can read quick and fast and just enjoy it and laugh out loud.
Awesome. Okay, my next book is a nonfiction book, and it is called Tracking Giants: Big Trees, Tiny Triumphs, and Misadventures in the Forest by Amanda Lewis. This is Amanda's first book. So she is, prior to writing, was a book editor. So she's from the West Coast, was living in Toronto doing the book editing thing, made her way back to BC. And when she got there, she did something that I could see myself doing, not necessarily the same goal, but I love like a checklist, a goal oriented kind of thing. And she decided to go through the registry of giant champion, capital C, champion trees in BC. And over the course of 1 year, visit every champion tree that is on the giant tree registry in BC. I'm getting the
I
words all
love it.
but it's she figured it out. She was like, if I could visit one, 2, 3 per weekend. She's like, I can get this done. The registry doesn't give you specific details about how instructions of how to get there to a tree. It'll just say something like, it's in this area on the south side of the lake by the fence or something like this. But she's like, I can do this. I grew up in BC. I can find this tree.
Yeah.
So that's her goal. The book is interesting in that her writing style, I realized as I finished, kind of follows the trajectory of her journey to find these trees. Because I found the first couple chapters, were really bogged down in her finding the tree, like, and then how you would measure a tree and when you found it and how you'd go this way latitude and I had to stop off, drive here, get on, park here, go down this way, and it's supposed to be here, but I couldn't find, like it was like, I'm like, oh, like I like this, but I'm really bogged down in how she's finding these trees.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I don't know if I can do a whole book of each tree. This is how I find it kind of thing. She then reaches a point when she was like, what am I doing? I cannot find every tree in a year. This is impossible. Like, it's also the way it is. Trees sometimes no longer exist. Like, if they were found 20 years ago, it may no longer be there. And she's like, and I'm getting bogged down in finding this particular tree and not enjoying the rest of the forest as I go along. So she kind of lets it, she doesn't let the journey go. But she lets the restrictions go, and all of a sudden, you can see her writing becomes much looser as she starts to enjoy what she's set out for herself to do. And she's very funny. There's lots of humor in this, and I giggled out loud several times. She is very funny, and I would love to hang out with her. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
she'd kick my ass tree tracking, but I would still think it'd be super fun. And she's got lots to say about our goal-oriented society that we've become, that even how people have made these giant trees there. Towards the end, she looks into whether or not we should really know and put out there where these giant trees are, because the the dirt and everything around these giant trees is getting eroded, because people must go see these giant trees, and when they're there, everyone has to prove that they were there to see the giant trees because they have to take a selfie. So it's becomes so much more than just finding these trees. It becomes about how we spend our free time. Do we really need to everything have to be put on social media to prove that we actually did something?
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then, of course, you learn a ton about trees, which I really love. And her life inserts in it. And like I said, she's funny. It's
Yeah.
really, and there was a foreword by one woman that I absolutely adore, Diana Beresford Kroger, who
Oh
wrote
yeah.
the other tree book I read recently. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, nice.
that's a good one.
That does sound really good, actually.
Yeah.
It's like that story recently, about those two guys I think in England, or was it Wales or England or something, that they cut down that really famous tree that had been there for centuries or something. Oh my God, it
No,
was
I
horrible.
haven't heard.
And they tried to act like they didn't know what they were doing, but like they said, they've videotaped themselves doing it and everything. And it's a tree that was this iconic tree that the world knew, and
Mm,
now the tree is gone. So, ugh. People, that's why
assholes.
when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, people could then go to those trees and,
Yeah.
do bad things. So,
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
all right. Well, my last book is my favorite of my stack, I think. I think that you will really enjoy this book,
Oh,
Raising
yes.
Hare by Chloe Dalton. It was on the Women's Prize little shortlist for nonfiction. It is a memoir. And it is basically about Chloe, who during COVID she has this home in the middle of kind of nowhere in the UK. And she is walking along, and in the, like these, like kind of like a dirt or grass track where cars do drive by, there was a leveret, which is a baby hare, which I did not know that. There was a little leveret in the track, and she saw it, and she's like, oh no, like, where's its mother? And it just is sitting there, and she just didn't know what to do. And she said, well, kind of let nature take its course. So she walks past it. She goes on her walk. She comes back, and the little leveret is still there in the exact same position. And she knows that sooner or later someone's going to drive by and squash this little thing. So she takes it home with the intention of doing the least amount of touching and everything so that it doesn't imprint on her, and maybe it can go back to its mother. And anyway, it's a story that Chloe tells of this relationship. And it's interesting because I know how much you love like that memoir, along with the story that they're telling, this like nature story. And what's interesting is I didn't get as much about Chloe. There's certainly aspects of her life in here. I'm not saying there isn't. And I loved what she gained from this and her insight and how she approached the Leverett and all the things that came out of it. But it's not necessarily quite tied into her personal life so much. And I don't think that's not a criticism at all. I just want to mention that it's a little less about her and it really is more about her her in this experience with the Leverett. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say anything about it because things are revealed as you go through the story. And she worked in government. So she was really high powered. She was kind of like in the background of big famous politicians and everything. So she had this really high powered job. And because of COVID, she was at home during this time. And you could just almost feel her sort of sink into that different rhythm of life of this Leverett and even just settling in that we all sort of felt, I think, well, many of us felt during COVID, right? Where you're kind of at home and you couldn't kind of go out into the world, etc. And she has a wonderful Instagram account. So you can see the Leverett and you can, anyway, I don't want to say any more than that. It's just, she's incredible. And it did not win. So another book won the nonfiction prize for the Women's Prize this year. But I would highly recommend it. I know it's going to be in the top of my books that I've read in 2025. There's no question. It's just, it will touch your heart. And if you want to read, and again, this also read really fast. And it's not insignificantly small.
Yeah.
You know, it's not too small or anything, but it reads really fast. It's compulsive. It's a compulsive read because you don't want to put it down. You just want to keep reading. And also, I just want to show you, and I encourage everyone when you pick up the book, because I think everyone should read this book. I think it's just that beautiful. But I'm going to show you this picture if you can see it.
Oh.
And what happened was these were photographs that she took of the Leverett, and then the illustrator created the images for the book. And they're just so on our Instagram account, you can see where it's the photograph and then it turns into the illustration. And they're just so beautiful. Like I think the photos are beautiful, but the illustrations are even more beautiful. So anyway, highly recommend Raising Hare.
Now, was that in the same list of nominations as Why Fish Don't Exist? Was that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a stellar list already. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And then the book that won, which I don't remember, but the book that won, I looked to see what it was about and I thought, oh yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I thought, yeah, I can see maybe why it would have beat a lot of other things out. And, but yeah, that was a really strong nonfiction list, I think, overall.
Yeah.
So check it out, everybody.
Yeah, I will be. It's on again. Add it way
You
up
will
to
love
my
it.
list. I know. I cannot wait.
I know you will love this book. Yeah.
Okay, my last book. It's completely different from your book. It's, but again, I hinted at it, and it is Homo Sapiens by Emily A. Whedon. So this book comes out in September. So I got an arc of it, a digital arc on NetGalley. Oh, actually, sorry, I think it says here, publication October 28th, 2025. So we'll remind you again because Emily Whedon has actually this is her second book. Rebecca read her first book, A Talk for Her, and spoke to her. So if you go back in our history of podcasts, you can find an interview when Rebecca was speaking to Emily. I feel like this is like a departure. This is horror. It's female vampires. And it is, if you're a little squeamish about needles, I will give you a heads up. There is a couple because I am squeamish about needles. So there were a couple of scenes when I just had to go like, kind of like blur my eyes and read through it very quickly. But other than that, there's a couple other little things, but it's not terrible. But it is just, I always feel weird saying this. It's a fun read because it's vampires. It's like strong female vampires. And the gist of it, I apologize. When I wrote about or spoke about the Guy Gavriel K book, I gave you guys nothing about it. I'm sorry. I just gushed. You can, you can do a little Google and see what it's about. So I apologize for that. I will give you a little synopsis here. Our main character is Detective Luke Stockton, and he is investigating a case of young runaway, not all of them, young men who are being found dead with the blood drained from them. And so he's investigating that at the same time that his wife, Beatrice, is pregnant and expecting. And she has decided that she does not want to go with the regular OBGYN, but this new med spa clinic that is opened, and she wants to go there for all of her birthing practices. He's like not totally into this, but he's like supportive, and he's like, I'm going with this. So there's like this weird tension going on in their marriage. Emily Whedon, I love this, explores our wellness industry that's going on through this whole birthing, this new med spa and birthing practices that are coming out. At the same time, Luke is like, I'm not sure what's going on at this med spa. He's like, I think the deaths of these young men is somehow connected to Cleo, who is the spa's owner, a very sophisticated woman who knows what she's doing, who has a trio of young muscly men who she, you know, they're her lovers. They do what she wants. They do her bidding. I loved it because near the end, I'm like, Emily has really explored and played with the whole Dracula mythology. And you're going to at one point go, I'm like, I did. I'm like, I said to myself, I'm like, I see what you're doing, Emily. And I'm like, I'm in for it. It was just a fun read as you watch Luke bumble along trying to solve this mystery. And help his wife, have this baby.
Now, you said something about a medical spa or something. Is this something?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a Canadian thing or something?
It is set in Toronto. Like it is very much it is set in Toronto. They go out visiting like to I feel like around Blue Mountain, so Collingwood area at some point. I don't know because it is meant for very rich women. So I am not familiar. If this I feel like some form of this spa would exist, but it's not a world I'm at all familiar with.
Okay.
But it's in the book, it is they refer to it as a med spa where you can obviously get an OBGYN, do all your birthing stuff, prenatal stuff that you need there. You can have your baby there. And at the same time, you can get a facial and have all different other aesthetic stuff done. Like it's a full service spa for very rich women.
Yeah.
Which Luke and his wife are not because he's a detective. Like he cannot afford this, but she's going there. She doesn't care.
Yeah. All right. I look forward to reading this one too.
Yeah, so. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. And that's it. That's my books for the month.
Same here.
Yeah. So let us know if you've read something notable that you want to share with us that you think that we would put on our TBR. We love to add to our TBR, even though it stresses us out sometimes. But
no, it just stresses me out. But yeah,
it's starting to stress me out a little bit
is
too.
It? Okay.
I didn't tell you. I'm actually on. It's book talk still. I've paused my library holds. I'm on a library ban this month because I'm trying to get through more of my physical books. Mm-hmm. And it's working. Like I'm getting through more of my physical books, which I'm enjoying, but I miss picking up library books so much. Yeah. I will still, even though I've paused them all, I still open up my library account and just like scroll through the holds. I've added holds to it, but I've paused those. I get that little dopamine hit, right, from getting a library book. So, but I'm also enjoying focusing on my physical holds.
Yeah. Oh, that's good though. Yeah, I like that.
But come June 30th, I think that's when I have it scheduled. It's just going to be
going to get a flood of books.
I'm going to get a flood. Now a lot of them aren't published, thank God. So that will help. Like some of them are still on order. I can see that. But I have 17 holds placed on the library.
Wow.
I may have screwed myself over for next month. Like I could be, but that's okay. Then I return them and I put them back on a hold.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all fun. Yep. I am actually looking forward to seeing what happens on July 1st.
Okay, you have to report back and let us know.
So silly. Oh, so silly. I could be doing other stuff with my life, but no, just waiting for the books.
I love it, though. That's awesome.
Anyways, thank you. Thanks, Rebecca, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
books. Yep, happy reading.
Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.